We are back. Episode 6? The Return of the Jedi episode.
Return of the Jedi.
It's going to keep going.
Keep going.
Next one's gonna be
I don't know. Are we allowed to talk about 7, 8, 9 with how long it takes?
I feel like we don't have like the credibility. Well, maybe we do have the credibility now to talk about Star Wars. Maybe people won't be too offended. Now, if you love the sequels, then no.
If you love the sequels, don't listen to
Don't listen to all that. Yeah, no.
Tune out.
Yeah, skip episode 5.
Episode 5.
But no, yeah, we're now at the Sunday before Thanksgiving.
Sunday before Thanksgiving. Everybody's getting ready to start their holiday. I think people are already on the road. For you, it was nuts today.
Yeah. I mean, I've never actually had to travel far except for the one time I spent with your family.
Yep.
That was like a 3-hour thing to Bakersfield.
Yep.
But other than that, I don't really like travel like out of state, which is kind of nice.
I've never gone out of state for Thanksgiving, Christmas, or anything like that. I do have family out of state. We're just not big travelers.
Yeah.
And 90% of my family on both sides live in California.
Right.
So.
Yeah. I mean this morning when we went to church, I mean, Pastor Dan, he spoke on Thanksgiving a little bit.
Yep.
The Christian point of view. But as me and you both know, we're not without controversy with anything in America.
Everyone has an opinion.
Everyone has an opinion.
Especially with social media. Everything involves racism and conflict. So, of course, we got to talk about Thanksgiving in that aspect. Because, this is the Vult Dudes podcast. We love controversy. We got to say Deuce Vult a little more now because we've heard that we don't say it a lot. It's the name of our show. We're not using it enough.
We need to have a Deuce Vult button.
Deuce Vult. Yeah, we need a soundboard.
Right, we need a soundboard. I don't have a guy. I need this challenge to like blow up to actually start investing in it.
Do it.
But yeah, I mean, just kind of like, I guess we could talk about like what Thanksgiving has meant to us and our families. Because I know we both come from very Hispanic households, which, believe it or not, people do have like a different type of Thanksgiving depending on the culture, even though we're all in America.
The culture, their background, their financial status,
right?
All those things.
Yeah. So like, has Thanksgiving been like has it been more culture in your family? Has it been like very like Christian driven in your family? Like what's your experience been?
So growing up as a kid, we spent, I think, every Thanksgiving, as far as back as I can remember, with my dad's side of the family. Mm-hmm. And most of them lived by the beach. And my grandmother was really good at making sure that we always got together for birthdays, holidays. But Thanksgiving was always a big thing in our house. And it was very Christian based, extremely Christian based. And I know it's hard to tell by my skin pigmentation, but I am half Hispanic.
His last name is Garcia.
And my last name is Garcia.
He has his card.
And then the family member whose house we would normally spend Thanksgiving at, they're the Rodriguezes. And again, very similar skin tone, very half-breed kind of bred family.
Yeah.
But again, I didn't understand that Thanksgiving was celebrated differently in different houses until I became an adult.
100%.
Because we always celebrated it the same way. It was very level-headed, Christian-based, kid-based. We always prayed before our meal as a family, and we didn't do the like say something you're thankful for, but I think we were really good about like having fellowship time and then talking about like, man, it's just so nice to get together and things like that. Mm-hmm. It was just very I don't know what to say I don't know what word to give to it except, again, just very family and Christian oriented. Mm-hmm. And then as an adult, like, everybody, I am not trying to be judgy, but I discovered very quickly that some people do it very differently.
Yeah.
Everybody's okay with like sitting in different rooms and having turkey away from everybody, and the guys going and watching the football games and having beer away from the kids, and
which is
guys do your own
which
thing.
is the crazy thing that you said, because that's very similar to how my Thanksgiving was. Because it wasn't until I became an adult that I actually had that full-on dining table Thanksgiving type painting experience.
Right.
Like it was very similar. Like, oh, everyone get them their plate, serve yourselves. Kids stay with kids, adults stay with adults, we'll watch the game, you guys go play games, do what you gotta do. But it was very much we show up, just eat, and basically just kind of talk gossip for like 3 hours.
Right.
So it's you're right. It goes to show that everyone has a different type of like flavor when it comes to Thanksgiving, a different style. But when it comes to like the idea of like Thanksgiving being like racist or controversial, I mean, you're obviously older than me. So like, is that like a recent phenomenon, do you feel like? Do you feel like this has been an ongoing thing?
I think it started taking off when I was a kid.
Okay.
Because I remember, again, I had the basic understanding of Thanksgiving, of why it started, and the Pilgrims celebrating with the Native
Indians,
Americans and coming together. And then I remember I had a class, I want to say in like 5th or 6th grade, literally called multiculturalism.
Yeah.
And it was supposed to learn like how we all live together as different cultures in America. And she was the first one to tell me, I'm like, well, it was the white man's holiday, and they celebrated with the Native Americans, but then look what they did to them, and they wiped them all out, and they were traitors, and they were this. And so, now we're not supposed to really celebrate it that way. People just want to get together. And I feel like they're doing this to every holiday, not to get too much on a side tangent, but everything, they want to wash away what it used to be. They want to take away what was good about it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to sit here and you want to say, that America has scars that will probably never heal because of how this country was founded, sure, still the greatest country in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's no reason that we can't come together and celebrate in a way. They don't even talk about it. No one says like it was a Christian holiday.
Right.
Nobody says it was a white holiday. To me, to talk about what you're thankful for and then get into the context of why it started is people were starving to death.
Yeah.
And they were trying to figure out how to live on this land. They were trying to figure out how to harvest and they couldn't do it. And the Wampanoag, right? Am I saying that right?
Wampanoag, something like that.
Wampanoag, the Wampanoag. They came together with the Pilgrims. They're like, here's how you grow corn.
Yeah.
And then they had a really good harvest.
Right.
They were like,
which is like a multi-day harvest. Yeah.
Thanks for helping us eat.
Yeah.
Come eat with us. Like, tell me that's not something you should celebrate. To me, that's one of the most beautiful things you could ever celebrate is community and coming together and saving people's lives and then saying, hey, I'm incredibly grateful. Come eat with us.
Yeah.
And not to say that, we're not going to go into the like whys and hows of the wars started between Native Americans and settlers.
Mm.
But at the time, it was a peacetime.
Yeah.
And they were looking out and loving for each other. And I think that's amazing.
Right. And I think people need to make the distinction as well from that first feast, the coming together of like Native Americans and the Pilgrims to what we celebrate Thanksgiving today and where it originates from. And that was from Abe Lincoln, making it a national holiday.
Right.
And he made a national holiday during a time of conflict. It was right in the middle of the Civil War is when he's trying to, what's something that we can do as a government to bring unity in some aspect. And then he looked to this initial feast. And it's like, wow, this is an amazing time of people just coming together with also differing views,
right.
Maybe we can learn something from that experience. So let's make it a holiday. So, try to bring some type of peace in Thanksgiving in, I guess it would be like 1860s. Right. So that's where we get Thanksgiving today. So when you look at it with that type of lens, it's like, how do you put like racism behind that? Like, yes, we can't ignore the type of conflict and wars that was going on with Native Americans and colonialists. But at the same time, the actual origin of Thanksgiving itself, I mean, it's hard to see that in a racist lens. If anything, that should be seen as like, oh, this is like, despite how different people can be, we can still come together.
And I think like we can acknowledge that human nature exists, and it's not always a good thing.
Yeah.
They literally learned about that and talked about that in church today. Right?
Literally, yeah.
Into our flesh, but all that to say, like, even from the most basic point of view of understanding that human beings just do evil and heinous things.
Yeah.
And no matter how good of a person you are, someone in power or someone in your neighborhood or someone next door to you or someone in your family, things can be corrupted. Mm-hmm. And so someone with too much power, right? Like we have wars going on ever since mankind has started. Mm. But yet for the most part, especially when first world countries fight during the holidays, everybody tends to kind of just leave each other alone and like, oh, well, we're having Christmas right now, so we're not going to shoot at the Germans or we're not going to shoot at the South and things like that. And it's one of my favorite Christmas commercials that comes up every year is the World War I commercial. Yeah. Where they choose to get together.
Isn't it like a cheese commercial or something like that?
I can't remember.
I don't remember the actual, that's how good it was.
But it's I know it's not American. Yeah. It's made in a foreign country.
It's like a French commercial. Yeah.
And don't they get together and play soccer?
Yeah. It was like the day of Christmas Day in like Europe at that time. Yeah. Literally people are in the trenches. They're being at war at each other for 24/7. But on that day, they decide to let's have a peace treaty.
So to my point is we have a good nature and we have a nature that wants community. And even with our own enemies. Mm. But I think our sin nature or our fleshly nature or whatever you want to call it tends to prevail a little too much, especially with the powers that be and pit us against each other. And I think not to get on my soapbox too much, but this is my podcast, so I will.
You guys are right.
I think people still want to pit us against each other. Yeah. And so this talk of racism and we shouldn't be celebrating Thanksgiving, not every person who spouts that is trying to cause division, but I think the origins of why those kind of conversations start, it comes from a bad place.
Yeah, and it goes again with the way our culture is. It has this tendency to have a victim mentality of oh, anything that was bad that happened in the past, we need to acknowledge it. I'm not saying that we shouldn't acknowledge it or forget about it, but at the same time, the ramifications of what happened back then doesn't really affect your day-to-day life. Yep. Yes, we can agree that warfare happened between the white man, Europeans, and Native Americans. We can 100% agree that's history, that was war, but the ramifications of what happened doesn't affect you to the way you think it does. That doesn't affect you in the sense it can it should change the way you think about being thankful, like Thanksgiving is about, you know? And to kind of double down on your on like, yeah, like God's law is right on our hearts. That is like good nature that we strive to like for community and to do good things. But at the same time, it is a constant battle within ourselves with our flesh. That's the part that's like all about me, about greed. What can I get out of it? So that's like constant war in our own selves. So it makes sense for that to be, you know, shown in actual war in day-to-day life in that aspect.
Right.
But it's just kind of sad why I think people are, you know, they try to take away, you know, the good out of what Thanksgiving should be about, just to like, nah, you guys shouldn't celebrate. You shouldn't be happy about it. You know, just understand that it came from like genocide and all that nonsense. So you shouldn't be happy, or you shouldn't celebrate it. It's the same argument with the whole with Columbus Day being First Nations Day. I'm like, I get it. You the hate or the tragedies of happening from like genocide and stuff like that. I get it. I get that's history, but at the same time, it was an objectively good thing for him to come here,
right?
Because we wouldn't be here today to talk about it. So, but people just have the notion of just looking at negative lens on everything. In my view,
we live in a good time.
Yeah,
good time to be alive.
Yeah,
and so we look for things to complain about. And I'm sorry, like you don't have to like that. And you don't have to appreciate what I'm saying, but it really is the truth. We just look for things to complain about, because if we went after every single, for lack of a better word, conqueror, we wouldn't have July and August in our calendar either.
Right.
Context. Look up
context.
If you don't get that, read a book.
Read a book. Look up Greek mythology. It's great. Or Greek history. But no, I would agree with that. But at the same time, you know, I don't feel like anyone should feel guilty of celebrating Thanksgiving with their family. Like, I understand that, yes, there is history behind it, but the history that is actual objective truth when it comes to Abe Lincoln and the first feast, like, I would say it's objectively a good thing.
Yes.
So we shouldn't look at the negatives that happened and let that take away from the objectively good thing that happened.
Right.
You know, so as a Christian, as a non-Christian, wherever you may be, celebrate, have a good time. The idea that it's a racist holiday, don't let that steal away from genuine good things that could happen from that holiday, is what I would say.
Yeah. So the last thing I'll add, I know we're kind of talking around each other now.
Yeah.
Get together with your family, go to Thanksgiving, celebrate, love, be thankful. You don't have to make everybody feel awkward at the table if they don't want to do that. I'm grateful for this, and just get together and have some fellowship.
Yeah.
Pray if you can get your families to pray over dinner, and if not, pray over your family members' dinner. And if somebody wants to bring up politics or the fact that we shouldn't be celebrating Thanksgiving, or someone bothers you or says something that makes everybody uncomfortable, just let it go.
Let it go.
Walk on. Yeah, you're not going to see these guys probably until Thanksgiving next year. Yeah. Learn to love and appreciate your family members to the best of your ability, and just be thankful.
Yeah. And one last thing I want to say on that one, which I think it's important, is like, don't let the potential, you know, family members who don't believe or atheists or have like negative views on religion, don't let that deter you from speaking up about, you know, the gospel at the same time. Like, use that as opportunity, because if you don't see your uncle, your aunt, or whoever it may be who's a non-believer, you know, 364 days out of a year, and that's the only time you see them, then hey, you might be the only person to actually talk about the gospel with them. Right. So don't be afraid to talk about the gospel. Understand they may not receive it, but understand that you're still planting seeds as well. So
yeah. When I said like pray over their food, even if they don't like, I don't mean like don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Keep your
pray over it.
I just mean you're like, hey, can we all get together and pray? And everybody is saying no.
Yeah.
Then just, okay, well, I'm going to stay here by myself.
100%. Set the example.
That was more the way that I meant it. But I totally agree.
No, yeah.
Fellowship, if you can, get into their hearts, get into their minds.
Invite them to your church on that Friday. You know, do what you got to do. You know, use that as opportunity, you know?
Yep.
All right. So, yeah, I guess that's the main part for the first part of the video about Thanksgiving. The second part is they got Q&A, because that's what got this show started. So we got to keep it going.
Keep it going.
Not a lot of questions, though, so I'm a little upset about. Send your questions, y'all. Keep the channel alive.
Don't get bored with us.
Don't get bored.
We'll make it better. We're here for you.
We need to get this thing to be monetized, cover the channel costs, which are none right now, thankfully. But yeah, it's only 2 questions, but honestly, they're both questions.
They're both really good.
They're really good questions, and actually they can become its own separate video. But we'll just adjust it right here. All right. So the 1 out of 2 questions. The first one, my friend asked me. So this is someone's friend asking him, apparently. If Jesus were to get jumped, would you help him? Now, my knee-jerk reaction is I would, but my theologian brain kicks in, and I'm like, wait, should I help him? Because I feel like if Jesus was getting jumped, he's kind of allowing it, because he can literally just wipe out anyone who's trying to harm him in that moment.
Right.
Like, would he want me to help? You know, it's like, maybe I shouldn't. Would he be mad at me if I helped him? you know. I mean, I come from the point of view. I'm like, I probably would. What do you think?
So I think I would also, and even if it's not just my knee-jerk reaction, let's say I had a second and a half to think about it.
Yeah.
I think I still would anyway.
Yeah.
And you and I talked about this a little bit last week about like, what would you do? I thought about it a little bit more, and I even think about like when Peter stepped in,
Yeah,
and cut the guard's ear off,
yeah,
and he pulled a sword out to do it. You know, if you kind of like read in context, and maybe a pastor I'll be out there, or Bible college professor will correct me on this. He doesn't correct Peter for standing up for him. He doesn't correct Peter for trying to stop them. He corrects him for trying to kill somebody.
Yeah.
You know, and he used a sword.
Yeah.
And he just said, if you live by the sword, you'll die by the sword. And then he fixed the guy's ear.
Right.
And in like a peaceful way was like, okay, we're done.
Yeah.
He never shunned Peter. He never said, hey, knock it off. He never said, hey, you did the wrong thing by standing up for me.
Yeah.
He did it by action and kind of letting him know, I'm going with these guys anyway, and I need you to not kill anybody.
Yeah.
And that's the context how I took it. So thinking about this question now, like, I don't think that Jesus would have any problem, even if he was allowing himself to be jumped for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Of you stepping in. In fact, I would feel tested. I would feel tested.
He's going to be mad if I don't.
And so therefore, I'm just kind of like, I'm going to step in. And to your point of if he wants it to stop, he'll stop me.
Yeah, like in your tracks.
Right.
Before you even move.
And so I'm going to step in and I'm going to stop him from getting jumped.
Yeah.
And to me, at least if I know that Jesus tells me to stop,
yeah,
that I know that I tried doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And he'll let me know. He's the master. He'll let me know. Or he'll stop it however he has to stop it.
Right. And then like this kind of reminds me of a scenario that we see kind of like in the nerd community about like time travel and stuff, about if you were to go back in time and try to stop Jesus' like crucifixion. There's the meme of him like speaking to like the people like in the masses, like in Greek and Hebrew, like in perfect ancient languages
at the time.
Yeah. But then he sees you in the crowd and points at you and speaks in perfect English, like go home. I'm like, that's probably what would happen.
That's exactly what
I was like it's one of those things like, you know, we see every time we watch movies like Passion of the Christ, like, oh, if we're in that moment, we wouldn't let this happen. But at the same time, like, I know we're kind of going on a tangent, like theologically, but like God is allowing it to happen. He can literally cast down an army to stop anyone who's trying to harm him any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
He can do anything he wants. So he's allowing this to happen. So, you know, it's one of those things I'm like, as much as I was want to help him, he doesn't need my help.
Exactly.
You know? So that's the mindset I go into that question. I'm like, I would knee-jerk reaction, which I think any Christian would help him, but understand like in the grand schemes, like he doesn't need our help.
100%.
Yeah. So pretty simple. I think so.
It's a good question.
It's a good question. It's one of those like, oh yeah, it's a simple answer, but then you think about it like, oh man, I don't want to think about this too long. Like, would I help him? Would I not help him? Does he need me to help him? So yeah. So the less controversial question coming up. It's funny how these are only two, right? The second question: should men have an opinion on abortion?
So I went first on the last one. You go first this time because you know this question frustrates me. This question frustrates me so much.
So yes, there's multiple ways you can tackle this question when it comes to men speaking on abortion. Of course, you know, a lot of, you know, women, feminists, you know, Christian women, they might have differing views. You know, I think the most common view is like, oh, you're a man, so you shouldn't have any right to speak on abortion because you're not the one carrying the baby. Like, to all that, one, it takes a man to make the baby. So I especially think if it's your actual child in the scenario, you should have an opinion, which I think that's something that needs to be talked about more often in our legal system, that if a woman wants to have an abortion without the man say so, there should be some type of resolution to that. That's its own argument, to be honest, or its own little tangent. But the main thing I think we should address is that, and it's kind of like your point when we talked about this a little bit earlier on, is that, well, that is a potential future man dying in the abortion. So as a man,
about half of them are men.
But half of them are men. Like, as a man, that's kind of scary because that's my fellow brother dying.
Or it could have been me.
It could have been me. So it's one of those things, like, you should have a heart to protect the innocent. And going down the tangent of being a man, especially a Christian man, is like, we are called to protect the innocent, those who can't pretend to protect themselves. That is our nature. As a Christian man, that's what we're called to do when we're husbands and fathers. So when we see innocent children dying, that kind of stirs up a fire in us to want to help in any way, shape, or form we can. And the last one to kind of like attack, like, oh, since you can't get pregnant, you shouldn't have an opinion. Well, kind of like to go down the moral aspect or the moral argument is that, well, I don't have to be a slave owner to understand that slavery is wrong.
Right.
I don't have to be involved in the actual scenario we're talking about to understand what's right and wrong in that scenario. So same thing with abortion. Yeah, you're right. I can't get pregnant. I can't carry a child, but I can also see someone innocently is being killed. So I should have a right to say, hey, maybe we should do something about this life potentially not ending.
Right.
So what do you think?
I 100% agree. And to bounce out everything you said, I'm so sick of this argument. I think it's a terrible argument. And I think it's just, it's just a cop out.
Yeah.
It's just a cop out. I'm sorry. And to me, that's 90% of this debate about abortion is, well, it's not a person, it's not a life, and it's not a this. And like, we protect bald eagle eggs. Why?
Yeah.
Because
it's literally you go to jail for killing a bald eagle.
Right.
Egg,
but you can murder a human child because it's inside their mother. So the pro-choice or the pro-death culture, as I call it, has done a really good job of convincing people, especially because it's convenient for them, that that's not a person.
Yeah.
And until it's out of my body, it's not a person.
Right.
Excuse me. There's a lot of people that believe that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people. And even I know some pro-choicers who are like, well, at least in the first few months or until it has a heartbeat or until it's sentient and so many of those arguments have been debunked already.
Yeah.
Of just, why can we not kill someone in a coma then?
Yeah.
Why can we not kill someone on life support? There's that potential of them coming back and they're still a person. But we're so disconnected emotionally until these things affect us directly. Of, if you watch a family member on life support, and that's the only reason they're still there, in which I still wasn't ready to say goodbye to them yet.
Yeah.
And I've gone through that twice.
Right.
And so with both of them, fortunately, one of them I had a few hours and the other one I had a couple of days that I would go to the hospital every day and kind of build up to saying goodbye. Or the one I knew the doctors told me, he's going to be gone in a few hours.
Right.
I kind of like immediately said goodbye because I was more worried about my other family members who were closer to him at the time. But again, until it affects you directly, and I'm not saying that that's why I'm pro-life. I've always been pro-life since I was a kid.
Yes.
I've never understood that it's an argument just for Christianity. I think we just, as a country and as a people, and even as a world now, we're so disconnected from reality because it's convenient.
Yeah.
If you sit down with someone and you make them have a genuine, honest conversation with you and they can't give cop-out answers, I don't think there's any good argument for abortion.
Yeah. I'm definitely more passionate about the subject recently, especially I'm planning to be a father next year. So seeing my wife, going on the journey of the child growing, doing the weekly checkups, doing like, oh, at this stage it's going to be the size of a cucumber. This stage is going to be the size of a potato. Like you're literally seeing this child develop as early as, I want to say she was maybe about like maybe 11 weeks. Like she's already feeling the baby move. Like it's already like a person in there. So, to see like this thing actually developing and to think there's a group of people that say like, oh, this baby is not worth protecting. Like you can have the potential to kill this baby at the mother's wishes whenever she wants. That's pretty demonic. I'm gonna call it out the way it is. Yeah. Like it is a evil mindset to think like this little creature, because you cannot visibly see it, because it's not outside the womb, that you have the right to kill it. It's a disgusting thing. It's a terrible thing, and it's one of those things where it's you put it perfectly. Is we gone to the point where we are able to, as a culture, justify, not rightfully, but people can justify saying this isn't a human life. Once you got to that mindset, it is much easier to go down the path of abortion.
Yeah.
Whatever point in history, whatever happens in the culture, whenever you deem a specific group as non-human, it is way easier to convince the masses to do whatever you want with that said group. So in this day and age right now, it's with the unborn. So again, it has to be just a revival in our culture. It has to be something that nothing the law can't do, nothing the science can't tell us. We have to change the culture. Like, guys, this is an unborn human. This is a person. When you give it personhood, it's going to get a lot harder to justify killing that person.
Yep.
So got heated now.
I mean, it's hard to not get passionate about when you believe in what we believe.
Yeah.
I mean,
especially as fathers,
Yeah. And I told you, when you guys told me you guys were having your first child, I go, dude, the best date of your life right now. And there's going to be better days, like watching your kid walk for the first time, hearing him or her say dada for the first time. Like there's so many other milestones. But man, that first time you hear the heartbeat, the first time I heard my first child's heartbeat, I will never forget that day.
Yeah.
To me, that was the most memorable day of the entire pregnancy, besides my daughter being born.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And so like you have that connection and you love that child, and already, even though you've never seen that child's face, you've never even smelled that kid yet, like you would go to war for
you literally die for that child.
Yeah.
They haven't even seen yet.
And it's a beautiful thing. And I think we want to live in convenience.
Mhm.
And I think this goes for men and women alike.
Yeah.
Of just everything needs to be convenient. Everything needs to be, I want to have a child when I feel like having a child,
Yeah.
and I want it to be easy, and I want it to be with one person. We're supposed to do it the right way. We're supposed to only have it with one person. And this is not me being judgmental. This is saying that the world we live in now,
Mhm.
we're more likely to have kids with more than one person because of lifestyle choices we continue to make as a culture.
Yeah.
Not the kid's fault.
Not the kid's
Not
fault.
the kid's fault.
Nope.
And the kid should not die for it. The kid should not suffer for it. And look into the science of it, of like botched abortions and what it does to people.
Yeah.
And like, thank God they survived, but like,
Yeah.
there's real damage. You can't sit here and say that baby's not suffering.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to hear any of this. Oh, they don't feel anything. They don't have pain receptors. They don't have
Right.
this. It is wrong what you're doing, and that is a person in there.
Yeah, and just double down on that idea you were saying about like it's not the child's fault. Like that goes in the same argument because I'm sure it's gonna come up in the comments at one point or another about the cases of SA or incest. Like we do not punish the child for the sins of the parents.
Yep.
That should be the objective line of any Christian who believes what we believe in. And at the same time, you don't do that in any other type of circumstance. What other circumstance in this world do we say like, oh, because the parents messed up, kill that child? And if there's like a backwater culture that does approve of that, we would denounce that culture. We would say that as a demonized culture right there. Like there is no other point where we say this is okay. So why would we do it for the unborn?
And if you think I'm not on your side when it comes to SA and all the other things that can lead to an unwanted pregnancy, I also believe in much harsher punishments.
Yes.
For those laws being broken.
Yep.
I still think we should bring castration back.
Castration, public execution would be nice.
Yep.
You know,
I believe in the harshest of punishments if you
Right.
do that to another human being.
right. Which is it's still crazy to think about. People never think about that. They automatically like, of course we should think about the mother. Of course we should think about her wealth, her mental health, her well-being, 100%. But people never, for once, like in those like circumstances of SA or incest, they never think about, you know, what should we do about the dad? Maybe we should arrest him as soon as we can. Maybe we should publicly execute him or castrate him, something. The worst punishment, skin of life, wood chipper, whatever it may be. Like we should be talking about that, not about, all right, so this might be a hard topic, but are you going to keep the baby? You know, we understand if you don't want to.
That's
Like,
the first thing.
that's the first thing. Why is that the first thing? Why is that unborn child not seen as the patient as well?
But, you know, again, also, I think we live in a culture of death. And especially, again, here in
Yeah.
America, I don't know if you went through this with your wife was going to her first few appointments, but I didn't find out until we were pregnant with my daughter that the reason you can't go into the room with your wife
Yes.
at first is because there's some unwanted questions. And no matter how much my wife would tell them, I don't even want these questions, they still do it anyway. One of the first questions is, are we keeping the baby?
Right, and that was actually my
and they don't want you involved in that.
right, and that was actually so when that first happened, I wasn't aware that it was happening because so this is my experience. I'm not sure if you guys might have gone through something differently, but when we went to the hospital for my wife's first checkup, I went with her obviously, and I wanted to make sure I was with her the whole time. But they bring her separately for her her screenings and blood work and stuff like that. In that process is when they're giving her the questions like, "Hey, do you want to keep this baby? Is this baby yours?" Like stuff like that. I'm like, dang, they don't even give you a chance to be with your wife, which is kind of like it's a little shady in my opinion.
It's extremely shady. Like,
Yeah.
yes, do we need to protect people from abusive relationships? And like,
Yes.
women need to have the opportunity to be open and honest with their doctor. Yes. But for those of us who are like doing things the right way, like we're married, we wanted this kid, you know, we committed an act that created this person.
Yeah.
And we're here together at the first appointment.
Yeah.
To sit there and be so sinister. And I think, again, it just backs up what I call it is the culture of death. Of one of the first questions they ask you is, hey, do you want to keep this kid?
Yeah.
To me, that's just sinister and evil.
Right. Which I don't fully blame the medical practitioners who ask those questions because it's what they're taught. It's
right. But that's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's a culture.
Yeah, it's a culture thing. Yeah, 100%. It's just I just pity them and like they have to like be learning. Like if you want to be in this profession, this is the way you have to approach these situations, which is terrible. And I guess one thing we should kind of double down on too is that this is obviously an anti-abortion channel. This is, you know, we are the Deus Vult dudes. We stand on that wholeheartedly. But I think one thing that me and you agree on that we don't 100% consider ourselves pro-life because we believe in the protection of innocent life. So the unborn, people who cannot protect themselves. But when people want to address, you know, the death penalty, how can you be pro-life, be okay with executions? I'm like, these people, they signed away their lives when they decide to harm other people and bring themselves onto women and children. Like, we do not have pity for them. Yes, as Christians, we believe that they can have repentance in God, but we don't think they deserve to be walking around society any longer because they are now a dangerous society. And we as a government have decided that we can actually execute these people because we believe in protecting society. Because they decide to sign away their lives by harming women, by harming children, harming other men, etc. I don't know. Do you have any extra thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'd be curious to know where the word pro-life originally came from, because I can see it as being like someone who was anti-abortion and wanted to say, well, I'm saving lives, right?
Yeah.
Because we're always looking for that buzzword that helps our side win.
Yeah.
And so pro-life is a pretty good buzzword to say, well, I'm for saving lives.
Yeah.
What are you for? Pro-death? Like, and again, that's what I call it, is the pro-death culture. But it also, I can see it coming from the other way, because almost like you're slipping in that little nugget. So in the future, you can go, well, you're okay with the death penalty, or you're okay with us going to war as long as it's against the bad guys, and things like that.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of a gotcha moment, but I can see it coming from either direction. I guess I still call myself pro-life, because even being pro-life, like the point of executing a person is to protect other people.
Yeah.
The only reason the execution or the death penalty exists is because they've killed somebody else.
Yeah.
And so therefore, most people who commit major crimes, felonies, they usually do it again.
Yeah.
We're talking about SA earlier and the grape word and things like that. It's not usually their first rodeo when they finally get caught.
Right.
And so that's why I think at the very least, and this is my problem, is we've even gotten away from this. No matter what the circumstances are, if you killed somebody with intent, life at the very least.
Minimum, yeah.
Like, you should not be a part of society anymore.
Yeah.
Because I don't want somebody else to get shanked in the neck or shot in the back or killed during an armed robbery. A lot of times it's just things going wrong, but that assailant who caused the problem, who broke into the house, who carjacked you, the person has no problem with taking your life.
100%.
And so, like, that's why I'm still okay with the death penalty. But at the very least, if we're going to live in a society where it says we're steering away from that, fine. They should never walk the streets among polite society ever again.
Yeah.
But getting back to the pro-life argument, like, this is an innocent person, and I don't think anybody in their right mind can look at a newborn baby and say, he might deserve to die.
Yeah. Which at some point, in some states, that was actually considered bill.
Yeah.
The post-birth bill was like, oh, for botched abortions, you can, if you still want to go through with the abortion, we don't have to continue this newborn's life. I'm like, that's just evil.
I don't know how you can listen to a baby's cries and then just leave it to sit there and die.
Yeah.
I don't know how any human being can do that.
I'm telling you, man, it gets me fired up. There's one thing I wanted to say too. I forgot what it was. Oh, the idea about like execution, stuff like that. Like, how can I be a Christian? Like, Christian belief. I'm like, capital punishment is a biblical principle.
Yeah.
Like, people don't really understand that. Like, if you look at the Old Testament, the idea of stoning, that's our equivalent of capital punishment.
Yep.
So it's a biblical value because, again, we understood the protection of protecting overall society from people who are willing to take away life willy-nilly.
And look at how they stone people. Actually, look at the historical context of what that included and how you died.
For real.
You didn't die on the first rock, guys.
Yeah.
Like, it took quite a few rocks.
Took quite a few. Now, if you want to go down the path of like New Testament, people abusing capital punishment, like in cases of Stephen, then that's its own argument. But a capital punishment initially in the OT was approved of by God because he understood that some people, he's like, just send it back to me. Just they don't have to be amongst you anymore. Just send them back to me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So in case everyone wants to go on the deep end of that, just look at the OT. Look at Leviticus. You'll find it. But yeah, is there anything else you want to double down on? Anything?
No, I think it's a good episode. Like I said,
this might be the one I guess is canceled. Actually,
it might.
I think about it.
I guess just all in the end of the day, guys, like, pray, get together with your family and loved ones. If somebody invited you, I guess the last point I'll make about Thanksgiving is I know we're really pushy about like celebrate Thanksgiving no matter what it takes. Also use discernment and good judgment about like what environment you're involving yourself in. Without putting too much of my dirty laundry out there, like, it's okay to protect yourself. It's okay to not want your kids involved in a certain scenario or environment that is not a good environment for your family.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And so I just want to put it out there. Like, it doesn't mean if you're going, well, I don't like Uncle Ricky and I don't like cousin Adam's Family reference. Like, that doesn't mean you shouldn't go just because you can't get along with these people for the most part.
Right.
If they're absolutely unbearable and they're doing drugs in front of your kids or somebody got into a fist fight last year and you just want to be in that situation again. All those things are good reasons to protect yourself and guard your heart and stay out of a bad situation. But if it's doable and you're going to argue about politics, I think you can go to Thanksgiving and enjoy yourselves.
No, 100%. I mean, especially coming from like a Spanish or Mexican culture, like, yeah, there's a lot of people who have some shady backgrounds, and like, if you have a child or newborn child, like, it's understandable. You don't have to bring your kid in that environment if you want to do your best to protect your family. But to your point, yeah, if it's feasible, if you can go there, if you can have a good time without ending up fist fights at the end of the night, then do it. But don't feel guilty either about like, oh, like you're saying, like, Uncle Ricky gets drunk every Thanksgiving and he fights one family member a year.
Yeah.
And you know what? Maybe, use your discernment. Maybe you don't have to go that year. Maybe you should voice your opinions about it. That's what I would do. But yeah.
I went with two fictional character names with that. I just realized
You did.
Uncle Ricky. And
Uncle Ricky.
I could throw a football over those mountains.
Well, I was gonna say Uncle Nick, but that would include you.
Yeah.
So we can't do
too.
that. Yeah, we can't do that one. But all right, guys. So overall, I think it's a pretty shorter episode, but send more questions for the Q&As. We have more content for you guys. But overall, like and subscribe to the video, guys. Have a good time at Thanksgiving. Pray over the unborn. Back up Jesus in the fight. Don't think about it twice. And yeah, that's all I gotta say.
And whether you're Native American, Mexican, white, get together for Thanksgiving. It's a good
Enjoy some turkey and ham, y'all. All right. All right. Get out of here.
Deus
have a good
Vult.
one.
Thanks
Deus
for joining
Vult.
us.
God bless you all. Have a good one.